Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. My name is Gail Snyder. I'm the Executive Director for Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. These programs are recorded and are made available through a YouTube channel for future use. And we are sponsored by the Area Agency on Aging and United Way of Tarrant County. And today, back with us for our Wednesday session of Artful Moments is Peggy on the topic of politics. Peggy?
Hi, friends. All right, let me fire up this PowerPoint. All right, can we all see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, let me get it in slideshow mode.
Uh-oh.
Okay. All right, so today, like Gail said, we're talking about politics, but we're really honing in on one particular artist and one particular series of artworks by the artist George Caleb Bingham. Have any of you heard of this artist before?
No.
Nope. The
right,
name
well,
sounds familiar,
It
but
sounds familiar.
He's okay. He is, yeah, he probably does sound familiar. He is in art history, he's like one of everyone's favorites. So he's done artworks. I don't know, maybe you've seen this artwork before. He's known for the Jolly Flatboatman. This is in black and white, but the scene of the men dancing on the boat. It's one of those artworks that always appears in movies, like hanging on the wall somewhere. So
Oh, really?
yeah, he's one of the, he's like, his artwork appears kind of all over the place, but unless you're looking for it, you don't really know it's him. So George Caleb Bingham is, this is a self-portrait of him. It hangs at the St. Louis Museum of Art Museum. He was from Missouri. Well, he was actually born in Virginia, but then moved to Missouri really early on in his childhood and really made a life and a name for himself in Missouri. He painted a number of things. He was very, very political himself. He started off, though, as an itinerant portrait artist, which meant he would travel around the state of Missouri and paint portraits for families. He'd stay in a town for maybe 2 months, paint portraits, and then pack up the party and move on to the next town and then paint portraits in that city and just kind of moved around the state. And that's how he made his living in the beginning. This is a portrait of himself that he sort of used as his selling tool. So it looks very kind of generic. He doesn't include any of his artist tools or any sort of his political affiliation, just to kind of be the template he would show potential clients when traveling around. Well, as he was painting, he found himself to be very interested and connected to politics, and he actually ran for office in 1846 and lost and swore off politics, and then ran again in 1848 and won. So that really launched him into a lifelong commitment to being involved. So in the early 1850s, he created a three-piece series that focused on the election process in America as it was at that time. And so here's, right now in our museum, we have a print on the left. You can see this is called Stump Speaking. Then the next artwork right here, this is called The Verdict of the People. And then this painting right here is on loan to us from the St. Louis Art Museum in Missouri, so the state where he was from. And this painting is called the county election. It actually goes, the Stump Speaking's #1, county election's #2, and the Verdict of the People is #3. So it's kind of showing the arc of an election series. So if you were to come to the museum right now, you would be able to see all of these hanging in a gallery. The two prints on the left, we own these two, and then that's on loan. Okay.
Can I ask a question real quick? You say that he did a series. Are these 3 paintings all of the entire series?
Yes, so it is. He did have other political paintings, but this was meant to be a series, and they're all 3 paintings. So this painting, there's these. This is the original painting. These 2 are engravings of the paintings he had created before.
Okay. Okay.
The paintings were reproduced in newspapers, and they were met with such critical acclaim that after the paintings came, he decided he wanted to do the prints to help circulate this story, this image, because it worked almost everywhere in the United States. The stories that I'm about to show you weren't specific to Missouri. They were specific. They worked for the election process all over the country at the time. So there was a real mass appeal to his art. And when you print things on paper, it's easier to ship, it's easier to buy, it's cheaper to reproduce. So you can mass sell these. So we're going to look at the first in the series. This is Stump speaking. This is again the print that came after the painting. So, and this is in our collection. So tell me what you see. There's a lot of things. This is why it's so fun. Like as the art historian in me loves these paintings because there's every time you look at it, you see something new. So tell me some of the things that jump out at you at first.
Well, it's under an oak tree or some type of tree.
Some type of tree. He's outside, yeah.
He is sitting up there in the front.
Oh, there's a speaker.
There's a speaker right here. Dusty, I didn't catch what you said. Do you mind speaking up just a little bit?
Or just that there's a speaker.
Yeah, I hear right. The man right here standing on a stump.
It looks like an all-male audience.
Oh, I don't know.
You hit that right on the head. All male.
Really?
All white male. There's one, he looks like he might be black, but all white male. Do you know why?
Yeah, because women
Because
weren't
only
allowed to
men
vote
could
back then.
vote.
Only men could vote at this time. And this was when women couldn't vote, of course, till the 1920s. This was made in the early 1950s. And people of color, black, indigenous, there was a lot of voter suppression happening. So, I mean, some of them might have been able to vote depending on the state, but generally they were not the ones voting.
There's
I like
there's
the
some
dogs.
I
Were
see
the dogs allowed to vote?
Say that again?
I said, were the dogs allowed to vote?
Well, that sounded more. You never know. Geez.
Yeah, there's 3 dogs in there. Yeah.
Yeah,
there are rich men.
I see at least 3 women.
Oh, good.
Are they in the background?
So right there where your cursor is,
Uh-huh.
by the man in the top hat, come down to behind the man standing.
Right here.
Left, right, the lady in the red.
Right here.
That's a lady?
That's a man.
Okay, what about the lady getting on the horse?
I don't see a horse.
You mean this wagon right here?
Yes, that looks like a lady right there.
Looks like a
That's a
dress,
man.
yeah.
And
His hat would indicate he's a man.
okay, and the person standing on the other side of the wagon, that looks like a woman's hat to me.
Right here.
Uh-huh.
It's a man, and those are workers' hats.
Okay.
We're out in
And
the
I thought it was a woman right behind the arrow where you just talked about, that one standing up next to the horse, right underneath.
here.
Yeah, that one.
And so
Right.
you can barely see. It's a man eating a watermelon right here.
Oh,
No, I'm thinking about the one with the white shirt and brownish jacket and the hat.
Right here.
right there.
No, sitting. The next one
Right
to you.
here.
Yeah.
That is a
That's a
man.
man.
Oh, it is.
So try to get me, guys. I've got all men in this painting. No, it's
They're from
the later artwork. We just don't see him in this one.
they're from
I don't know, maybe
different
the dogs are female.
they're from all different walks of life, from
Exactly.
Yeah.
To me, that's a
workers
beautiful
to
observation.
people to rich folks.
Yes, all walks of life. So you see the wealthier men in white coats with top hats.
Mm-hmm.
The top hats to your back here. You see
Could that be
men
a
who they're called shirt sleeves. They were
Would
the
that-
laborers. So you see a lot of men who don't have coats, who are just wearing what they would wear out in the field or on the boat or in the market. You see older men resting on canes. You see younger children who eventually will have the right to vote. You see young men And you see an older politician, I think Yetta pointed him out earlier, an older politician, and he looks like he's doing all the speaking.
Hmm.
You know, standing on, he's above talking. What brings all these different walks, men from different walks of life together is that they're all here to listen to a person who would be their representative. So that's the uniting thread through all of this. Different walks of life, listening to someone who might be representing them. Do you have any guesses on who this man might be running up against?
The guy that's standing up in black?
This man?
No, they're
No,
just
that-
discussing.
this is someone who's actually asking him questions.
Yeah,
and
okay.
politicians answering.
Maybe the other man sitting in the whites,
Oh, and
Up
over
top.
here.
in the top hat.
That's another good guess. But think if you're wanting to listen to someone speak on the platform, is there anybody else on the platform who might be getting ready to get up?
The heavy set guy behind.
The heavy
farther
guy.
one next to the heavy
Yeah.
set guy. So
A heavy guy, yeah, because he looks like he's well dressed, listening, waiting.
obviously well fed.
Wait, this man sitting down taking copious notes,
He's part of a reporter.
politician.
Oh,
Taking
really?
notes on kind of what his rebuttals might be. And there's this idea of he seems like the younger, maybe the new class of people coming up. So he's going to let this older gray-haired man speak, but then he's going to come up, and there's a really wonderful quote that Bingham has about how he's just waiting there to come up and then use his words to deceive and manipulate the people based on what the other politicians say. Sort of similar to what we have in our politics today, you know, taking people's words out of context and spinning them in a new light. So
One of the other things that I noticed is that most of the people are sitting down. In
sitting-
today's rallies, they all stand up.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that is a good observation. This is all outdoors. People are sitting where they can. We've got one man
1956.
recumbent. Okay, so we see a bunch of themes in
The year under the picture, 1956, is that
Mhm.
correct? Or why does it say 1956 and not 1856?
You're so good.
That's when he painted it.
1856. You catch me every time, Yetta.
Oh,
I'm making sure you all are watching correctly.
Okay.
Yes, 1856. And the original painting was even earlier in like 1851 or 52. So it wasn't reprinted in the 1900s. It was the 1800s.
So was this just before the Civil War?
Yes, this is all antebellum.
Okay.
And so interestingly enough, you don't know what party anybody's for. You're not seeing any of that. The Republican and Democrat Party were still a thing. But Bingham himself, the artist, was a Whig, one of the original Whig
Yes.
members. And so he even painted signs for the Whig, banners and things like that for the Whig Party. So he was very involved in politics, very involved in the imagery and the rhetoric that would be, spreading to the people. Okay, so stump speaking's number one. So this would be, this day and age, this would be us turning on the TV and watching the debates. Now we've got the election day. So we have in our collection, we have a print of it, just to kind of, so you can see what it looks like in the series of prints. But what's hanging on our wall right now is this beautiful canvas that's on loan. So before we get into what we're actually seeing, Bingham was a phenomenal painter, and one of his tricks he would do was he would paint the canvas completely red before then going in and adding the colorful scenes that you see here. And you can kind of notice in some of the skin of people that like rosy, dewy glow they all have.
Mm-hmm.
That's because he would prime his canvas. It would be a toned ground. So he would prime it with a red, and then he would paint over top. He would also recycle figures. He's known to do this. He was a prolific sketcher, drawer, and he would draw these figures. So here's an example actually of a boatman. He would draw these really elaborate figures, and then he would trace them into scenes. So you might see this man's face in like 6 different paintings.
Oh,
Because
really?
he had these figures that he would almost use as templates to help him along. And so on the canvas itself, when you put it under the X-ray machine, it's really cool. It's called pentimento. You can see his pencil marks.
Oh, okay.
And so it's really kind of, and then you can see where he traced something or drew something on, and then with the paint where he actually decided, no, I don't want to use that drawing the way I have it, so I'm going to add this branch or change the positioning of his arm or whatever. Here, I don't know. I have not been able to track down if any of the faces, any of his regular faces, so I can't point that out. But this man right here, he looks kind of familiar to me. I think I've seen him in other places. So some of these faces might look familiar to you, and you might see him in other artwork.
So is this an actual thing he witnessed, or is he just recalling it from memory?
He's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because he was involved in politics, he knew very intimately how this process worked. He was at rallies, he was there for elections, he ran himself, so he knew what went into who was there and how it was run. But none of these are traced back to an actual election or an actual site, which was part of the appeal of selling it throughout the United States, because you could see a little bit of your town in this type of portrayal. So what we saw here, and Janine pointed out in this version or in this artwork, they're all outside. It's rural. They're in a farmland somewhere. You're seeing a lot of laborers based on their outfits and their hats. Still using upper class men. Here, it looks like we're in kind of the city center.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was a guard at the art museum in St. Louis.
Oh gosh, and he got to spend his days just surrounded by beautiful work.
Could I ask a quick question down here at the bottom where it says St. Louis Art Museum purchase? What do those numbers stand for? I understand the 1944, but I was just curious about the 124.
Okay, so it kind of changes depending on the museum. In this particular one, we're seeing, okay, the year that they purchased it was second. So they purchased it in 1944.
Okay.
And then this number 124, that was the 124th item they purchased that year.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so in museum speak, we call this little area down here, we call it the tombstone. It gives you all the information you need about that artwork. So on a label, we talk about, the tombstone went up. Did you print the tombstone? That kind of thing. So that's when if ever you hear that in a museum, the tombstone is all of basically the stats of the artwork. And because this is a loan, depending on how the certain loans work, we are contractually obligated to include this credit line whenever the artwork appears. It's not public domain.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Back on that picture that we were just looking at.
Sure.
Does anybody know what the sign says that's up there by leaning on the pillar?
It says, "The will of the people, the supreme law." And I have a detail. I pulled it out. I tried to get it a little more crisp, but it's minuscule. So what else do we see? We see the blue sign.
Looks like somebody's taking the oath already.
Say that again, Dusty.
Looks like somebody's taking the oath of office.
Taking oath.
Yeah.
Great observation. He is taking an oath, but it's not of office. He's swearing. People speculate he's an Irish immigrant. He's swearing that he hasn't voted somewhere else, so he's not voting twice.
That he's swearing that he didn't vote twice.
So this is not a ballot vote where you're dropping about. This is an oral vote. So everybody is waiting their turn or lining up to then tell this man who they're recording in the back.
Oh, okay.
What else?
Man. This is hard, something that's hard to conceive.
Yeah, and it's a pretty big artwork you can see on the wall, but there's a bunch of vignettes. So if you just kind of look at it in sections, you might start to see more details than just kind of looking at it at a whole.
Yeah.
I have a question. The guy that you said looked familiar, that you have seen him in other places.
Yes.
Could that not be a self-portrait of him? Because it looks sort of the one that he painted.
It does look like him. No, he wasn't one to typically include himself in artworks.
Okay.
He would pay models or have a friend that he would include, but we never, I wouldn't say never, but we haven't seen him appear in other artworks typically.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, but keen observation.
I'm curious, the one guy looks so sad. I wonder what makes him so sad over here in the very corner.
Yeah.
With the head
Looks
down
like he's got a head injury or something.
It's about to lose.
God, you nailed it on the head. So art historians speculate, and Bingham had witnessed this type of thing. People suspect he lost in a political brawl and is just sort of kind of collecting himself over, you see a broken piece of wood.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He has some sort of head injury, his head down low. It doesn't look like he won the brawl, but he's there. So that's one little scene. Let's take a look over here. What do we see?
There's one black person.
One black person.
It looks like he's a servant.
And
Yep, he's working, not voting.
Yeah,
And
he's a servant.
Doing?
What did you say?
What is he doing? What do you notice his job here is?
He's pouring drinks.
Pouring drinks, yes.
So even then, alcohol played a big role in election, and Bingham was all for temperance. So this was kind of a inclusion on, even on election day, it's meddling. Alcohol is meddling with the turnout.
Oh, yeah.
Meddling with people's ability to think clearly. And so this man, you see this man who, he seems like he's been drinking a little bit. You see this man back here who's completely incapacitated.
Yeah.
It looks like he drank more than a little.
Yeah.
He had himself a day. And then it's kind of this tongue in cheek where it's, what does it say? The will of the people. Well, he's incoherent and doesn't have the ability to use free will. So this idea, though, but someone's dragging him up and he's going to vote. So there's that story playing out.
Being held up by somebody.
And Janine had mentioned in the previous previous artwork, the different social classes. Well, you see here, a sleeve worker sitting with a man in a top hat. And they seem to be having some sort of conversation about politics, maybe, or the situation at hand. But they're, again, this idea of democracy, of hearing all different points of view to come together. Any guesses on which man is the politician running?
Yeah, the guy tipping his hat right below.
Tipping his hat. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy in the tall stovepipe hat.
Got it. Yep. Look, even to the very last minute, trying to push his card. The card would have some of their platforms. Right before, look, he's next in poll. And then
This is so anti-voting the way I know it. It's just amazing that one of the politicians is standing right next to the poll place, and you're voting out loud what your vote is.
Right.
Everybody can hear it.
Right. Pretty different in how it runs, but fundamentally it's still the same idea, and Bingham spoke to this idea of everybody has the right, well, at this time, not everybody did, but everybody has the right to vote. And the preservation of the union was more important than this idea of different political points of view. So the democracy was more important than the difference. And so he spoke to it by incorporating all types of people, informed and uninformed, they still had the right to vote. So that, this slippery slope of a democracy of everyone's vote counts the same whether they know what they're voting for or not. And one more little cute story here. You see two little boys playing a game. It's called, I wrote it down. I think it's called Mumbly Peg.
Mumbly Peg, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, as you know, you're using knives and it gets increasingly more dangerous and dangerous as you're playing. But this is another situation where we have two people engaged in some sort of competition and we don't know who wins. The same way, but we have no idea who is winning this election. So there's another layer of this story that he's nodding through, this sort of limbo, and everyone's kind of waiting for something to happen.
Can I say something else?
Please.
This doesn't look like it's a fall election, so this doesn't look like it's a national election or anything. It looks like it's in the spring or summer.
I don't know anything that I've read on this. It doesn't really speak to the season or what specific election it might have been. So it, could have been a primary, or it could have been for a representative position. It might not have been presidential, or for a governor spot. Which kind of again spoke to the appeal for the whole U.S.
Well, I know what Missouri looks like in November, and it's not bad.
I know. Yeah, right. Those trees would be a little brown and red.
Yeah.
And then so here are some of the details we just talked about.
Okay, good.
And then the last scene, and this we have the lithograph print, the painting we don't own. This is the verdict of the people. So, Gail, I know you would notice we're looking for those women. Do you see any women in this one now? Got to get your binoculars out because you really got to look for them.
Is there a woman there that's standing between two men that's right under the flag?
Right here?
Yeah. No, over one.
To the left.
To the left.
Right.
This guy?
No, this other left.
Our
Your other left.
This one right here?
Yeah, one in the middle.
That one.
There are no women standing on the ground.
Oh, really?
Up on the balcony.
Yep.
Oh, the ladies of the night.
They're actually not ladies of the night. They're just ladies of the men married down below, but aren't able to participate in whatever the celebration is. So we see the women. We see again this black man. Looks like he's showing up with the booze again, so he's there to work and not to participate.
Yep.
What else do we see?
There's watermelon over against the on the ground behind the man standing with the cane.
Okay. Oh, right
yes,
here.
I see it. Yeah.
And there's also a watermelon on the there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know what watermelon represents, because I know Bingham, and I know it just wasn't he liked watermelon. I'm sure that has some sort of political symbolism of the day that I am just not aware of. So we see, some of the fruit we saw at the beginning, in the very beginning of the series, that kind of is an overarching connector. Do we see people who are happy about the election results?
Yes.
Where do you see that, Yetta?
Right underneath, the guy that is saying the verdict, then there's a man with an arm, and underneath him is somebody really smiling.
Yep.
And also the man that has a little hair up there on the podium, he also looks happy.
Yep.
And down next to the column, a little over, two over, one more, he looks happy.
Yeah, he looks happy.
This guy looks like
This guy over here on
They're
the far
joking.
right.
Yeah, he doesn't look happy.
He's not happy. This man, whew, get him a drink.
Yeah, really.
How about the guy right
Already had him up.
right there?
Where, Paulette?
Well, there's a guy bending over by the post over on the far right, and then there's a guy right behind the post, and he looks kind of happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
And this is an example where I don't think it's the same exact guy, but you can see here, see the positioning of his hand. This might be one of those examples of him using very similar people and persons to trace.
Okay. Hey, there's a guy over on the right side of the painting that looks like he's got 3 hats on.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Good observation, Don. Look at you.
He looks happy too.
He does look happy, and you know
Right.
why he has 3 hats on. This one I thought is just so funny. I remember learning this in graduate school and
He's
having a laugh.
Probably throwing out to the other people.
He might be. Well, the art historians say he probably won a bet that said, I bet my hat that this candidate's going to win, and look who won. And he won everybody's hat.
That's right.
So there is a little humor nested in this. So those are the details then of the man with 3 hats, the happy and sad scene, and then the women in the back. So those are our little Bingham politics today. Any closing thoughts or observations?
No, I'm very more well informed about how things went in the mid 1800s as far as elections go.
Yeah, seems like kind of a junk show, but
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems to go on very well, you know, not
Yeah.
all the wobble that we have today.
I mean, to me, I feel like it's kind of funny. We're looking at something that happened, almost 200 years ago, and it's the same type of crazy that's happening now, you know?
Yeah.
It's just politics.
Politics. Yeah.
Well, I'll leave you all with some Bingham thoughts. If you happen to come to the museum, these artworks are up for a little bit longer, so check it out if you can.
Yeah, love to.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
friends,
Thank
I'll see
you.
you next week. Our theme next week is food because Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
So we're getting our bellies and our appetite already starting on Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
And then Don, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Great job. Great
Bye.
job.
Bye.
Good job.
See y'all.
Like the
Bye,
earrings.
Nancy. All right. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it always is.
So tomorrow is Cookie Conversations,
Woohoo.
Woo-hoo.
and back by popular demand, we will be making ginger snap cookies.
All right.
Okay.
So,
No. My wife heard me say that I like ginger snap cookies yesterday. And
uh-huh.
she said, later on, she says, I've never heard you say you like ginger snap cookies. Well,
Wow.
my comeback was I like all the other cookies she bakes, so she doesn't. We get ginger snaps from other people.
So is that because you always ask her for something with chocolate?
No. We have a whole litany of Christmas cookies, holiday cookies that she does. Some candy canes and some called Russian tea cake things.
Oh, those are yummy.
Yeah, and there's some other things that she does that are traditional, I guess.
Right.
Did you decide if you wanted them crispy or chewy?
I think he said he likes them either way.
Yeah, I don't care.
6
That's
of
what
one,
I
half a
heard.
dozen of the other.
I prefer mine just a little bit chewy, where you can do
Oh,
like
I'm fine.
this and it doesn't break crisp, but you can
Yes.
see chewy inside.
I'm
Yummy.
happy either way.
I like crispy cookies.
You like crispy.
Yes.
Good to know.
Well, most people think ginger snaps are supposed to be crispy because they're supposed to snap.
Oh,
Of course, that could mean they bite you.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And if they're really crispy, those people who like to dunk them in their coffee or their tea
Yeah,
mhm.
hold up better when they're crispy.
probably. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way they don't melt so fast.
And I
Mhm.
like them with a cup of tea, but I
Yeah.
don't dip them in my tea.
No, I don't like the crumbs in the tea.
Me either. All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful rest of the day. And
Thank
We
you.
got it off to a good start.
thank you. And I'll see you all from the kitchen tomorrow morning.